What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on the pilot episode of Through the Storm. This is going to be a podcast where we navigate the challenging but beautiful journey of recovery, rediscovery of our best selves. For today's first episode, I got a good friend of mine. Very honored to have this guest here. This is Mr. Lonnie Velvet Williams Jr. Lonnie, thanks for being on the show.
Use my whole government, huh?
In case you wanted to Google him. So, first of all, I'm going to start off with a little kind of off-the-cuff question.
Mm-hmm.
Why the Velvet?
So Velvet is a family name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a junior, obviously, so my dad was Lonnie Velvet Williams Sr.
Mm-hmm.
But his dad got the name due to some philandering.
Oh.
And there's a story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
He was at a brothel. My grandmother was looking for him.
Mm.
The brothel was run by some Vietnamese women who didn't speak much English.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother said, I know he's here because there's his jacket, which
Mm-hmm.
was a velvet jacket. And the women, the Vietnamese women said, oh, velvet, velvet. This is the story that my dad tells. And so they began to call my dad Velvet. My granddad Velvet.
The irony is kind of humorous. Like,
Okay.
Since I know a little bit about you,
Uh-huh.
your past with the female, a little smooth. A little
I get it honest.
Okay.
I get it honest.
All right, so this is a long time tradition.
It's a long time.
Passed down from your daddy's daddy. I got you.
Exactly.
Beautiful, beautiful. I always wanted to know. Okay.
But that part of my life has changed.
Yeah, I believe it. I know your wife. She's beautiful, wonderful. Hey, Deb, how you doing?
Yeah.
All right, so you brought up something. I think maybe this would be a good place to start since we're talking about navigating challenging situations in our recovery. Lonnie, your father.
Okay.
He just passed, right?
In August 16th.
Okay. I have not lost a parent in recovery yet. Fortunate for me, but a lot of people have, Lonnie. So, can you tell us a little bit about like what that was like for you, and how you were able to get through, and how you're processing even still today the loss?
This is an easy one for me. Okay. Because I can't tell you how I got through that time without mentioning my sponsor. Okay. I'm a little over 7 years sober.
Right.
Okay, but I tried this process literally for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I came into the process this time, I come across this guy, never met before, and he explains sobriety, recovery, 12 steps, all those things in such simple terms that it just sank in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm following this guy, and in following him, he began. He would do a lot of meetings, and I would say at least once a month, someone at the meeting would bring up, I want to get high, I want to drink because my mother died. My grandmother is in very ill health and is about to die. My children's father died.
Right.
Or my best friend died. It was just constant, and his response every time was the same. His response would be, I'm sorry to hear that. We don't know how to navigate, these type of stressors in our life, and so we use and we drink over them. We got to build a relationship with God. But he would say this. He says, "Now, I haven't lost my mother." This is what he would say. "I haven't lost my mother, but God forbid if she does die, what I'm going to do is stay connected. Getting high or drinking ain't gonna bring her back."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I would hear this over and over, month after month, because again, someone's always bringing it up. About 2 years into my recovery, his mother dies. He did exactly what he said he would do.
Stay connected.
He stayed connected. Look, The day his mother passed, we were scheduled to go to a recovery picnic. Okay, and he was going to come and pick me up and take me. Do you know, within the half hour of that man finding his mother deceased, instead of, not thinking about me at all, who was waiting for him to come get me, this man called me up in tears.
After just finding his mom.
After finding his mother, had contacted the authorities to come. Now he's waiting for them to come. While he's waiting for the authorities to come, he called me up, tells me that this is what happened. Then says, "Don't worry, I got somebody to come and get you." Looked out for me in the process of all of this.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow. Okay.
So fast forward, man. I that's the example I follow. I've lost my grandmother. I've lost my father. I've lost both my in-laws, parent-in-laws, mother and father-in-law. I've lost my daughter's mother and some other family members.
Right, this just happened, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But I know today, drinking and using is not going to bring them back. And I know to stay connected.
So when you talk about connection, for some reason I'm thinking of like my first days coming into meetings, or even like on a comeback from a relapse, and I'm feeling very, very isolated. I'm feeling very disconnected. I'm feeling very distrustful of people, and so when it comes to building connection, I believe what you're saying, staying connected. Like, how did you start, man? You've been here 7 years. How did you start to build connection with other people? Like, what did that look like?
Man, I gotta go back to my sponsor. He showed me how to build connections. And it was about being honest, kind of transparent.
Right.
I think God has done for me what I couldn't do. Not think, I know God has done for me what I couldn't do for myself.
Right.
And one of the things that God has done for me is, and I used to think it was a bad thing because it took me over 25 years before I got, found this long-term sobriety. Oh man, it took me 25 years. I needed that experience because now I can share things transparently and honestly that I couldn't before. And
so that means, y'all, just a little pause there. All right. That means y'all gonna need to make sure you're ready for about 25 years hell, because that's what it takes for you to get honest. No. We're talking about becoming transparent, being able to be honest with the people that we're seeking support from, or just seeking connection with.
And so, and I thinking who might be watching this podcast, right? What if there's a newcomer? They might be like, that's not easy to do, and it isn't. Okay, right. So I don't want to give that impression that it is. But again, what my sponsor helped me to recognize is I'm not as unique as I think. And when that sunk in, I'm looking at people who might have cars and homes but you've been through some stuff. Yeah, you've been through some stuff. You come on the other side. So if I talk about me selling, all my possessions to get another rock, I don't have to worry about you like, oh my gosh.
Because some of those purists, some of those people who ain't touched crack or heroin, they might attest to have a different experience. I've heard it a couple of times. But I'm with you, man. I sold it all.
But that tells me about their recovery too, because recovery is a change in attitude and behaviors, right? And if I don't know by now, particularly if I'm a person in long-term recovery, if I don't know by now that we've had to have experienced the same thing, it's the feelings,
right?
It's the powerlessness, it's the unmanageability,
hopelessness.
It's the hopelessness.
Absolutely,
that's what connects us, And if you can identify with that, then we can be connected. And so my sponsor, he showed me how he would share in a global meeting setting, and then in a smaller group setting, and then he introduced me to people who were living, at least in my mindset, the way he was, particularly with how they shared,
Actually practicing.
Got
you. Yeah.
And that just and then I'm a pretty extroverted person, and so people would be drawn to me, you know, but I'm also drawn to people like you. Okay, we've talked, and uh, I I know a person who really wants this thing, okay, recovery, um, and has tried and maybe failed,
Sure.
but I'm okay with that.
Would you say that a person who tries and fails, would you say that they just didn't want it?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. 10 years ago, I'd be like, they didn't want it. You didn't. I didn't. I would start with me. I didn't want it enough. That's a lie. Yeah. That's a lie that my mind would tell me. I wanted it. I was powerless.
Because every time I relapsed, that moment before I went and grabbed one, I wanted to get high.
No, you didn't. You had no choice.
Okay.
You had no choice. This is a conversation my sponsor and I had recently within the past year.
And the brain, far beyond my understanding, but science does explain it a little better these days with the midbrain and all of that, and how it hijacks the instincts, right? The instinctual demands. And I convinced myself of the lie.
Right.
I don't know how, but it will be different, I assure you. And I just need to get this one, and then I'll be able to handle the rest, So,
do you enjoy being homeless?
I've had some good times on the street.
No, I know
that's not what you asked me. I know that's not what you asked me.
And the answer is no. Do you enjoy going to jail and catching cases? The answer is no. Do you enjoy being estranged from your family? The answer is no. Do you enjoy being estranged from your friends? The answer is no.
That's true.
So there is nothing in the world that
is desirable, except that very temporary feeling.
That very temporary feeling.
Very temporary, unsustainable as it is. So now you mentioned another thing, and this is something that I often hear people distinguishing, whether it's from the podium or when they make these profound comments. And they say there's sobriety and there's recovery. Which one is which, and which is more important? Well, in your opinion.
In my opinion, first of all, you can't have recovery without sobriety. Okay. And for those who don't know, I'm a 12-step AA person. Okay. And I make that distinction for this reason. In the Alcoholics Anonymous book, it says, we feel a man is unthinking who thinks that sobriety alone is enough. So what they're referring to is that physical sobriety. And that used to be me. So this is how, again, my sponsor is a big book studier, right? And just he just continues to do that. He's a thumper. but you better, if you thump, you better walk what you talk.
I feel it.
I feel it. So I've become that same type of guy, right? And so I'll recite the book a lot. And for me, this is what that means. I used to be that person. Like, I get sober, physically sober. Like, this is wonderful. And of course it's wonderful because I'm getting a paycheck and I'm not spending it on crack. Oh, I got a girlfriend and I can buy her a Valentine's Day gift. Oh, my daughter is talking to me.
I can afford a gym membership.
I can afford it.
I love getting new ink. Not me personally.
But any of those things, right?
Right.
But I end up using it again. Why? Because that alone is not enough.
Right.
Recovery, like I said earlier, is a change in attitudes and behaviors, right? But the main thing I believe for me was attitude. The reason that I am sober today is so that some other person who's 27 and coming into recovery for the first time can hear my story about being 27 and coming into recovery for the first time and not getting it. and taking me 25 years to get it. For the person who's 55 thinking, man, I've been at this for 30 years and it ain't gonna happen. No, it can happen for you too.
And I have to point out, it's for the secret shoppers at Walmart. Because now they ain't got to chase you. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Don't forget about those secret shoppers. God bless you.
It's for my coworkers who bring their lunch and don't have to worry about where did my lunch go. Because the guy who's my boss, I don't know it, but he's stealing my lunch.
I think of the Asian drivers on the highway.
The Asian drivers?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, the Asian drivers don't drive very well. They drive like they're still in Asia. Yeah. Go faster, slow down, get over, use your signals, please. For the love of God, stop fully at stop signs and don't run the lights on a late yellow. All right. Just said that. Okay.
Okay, yeah, you did.
I got to bring up a few things.
All right, okay.
Because usually they say, what it was like. What happened? So I'm gonna go backwards.
Okay.
So what's it like for you today, Lonnie? You're married. You work in the field, in the recovery field. You've worked your way up to a purposeful management position with a reputable company. We won't give out all your personal information since they have your government. Your daughter loves you. You have a home with your name on it. You own a vehicle, and you're giving back in the community. You've even been in a couple films. So now this is what it's like, right? This is from the outside in. It's like you have everything going for you, right? So my question in stating all of those things are, is this what you had in mind?
Well, the simple answer is no.
Many people benefit from me being sober, but also understanding I need to have a change of attitude. Because God knows how many times I've gotten sober, I've been off of the substances, I've gone back to work, I've gotten the bank account, I got a nice car. Oh, look, I can drive after 10 years with no license. I actually have insurance on my legal vehicle. I got a relationship in the works. But there was no change in attitude, and I still had an attitude of entitlement. I felt like society and or God / higher power owed me something for the difficulties in my life that I didn't ask for. You know what I'm saying? God, I've been sober 90 days and I should be getting a raise. My first 6 months, I definitely need my own apartment. I can't get out of sober living quick enough. You know what I mean? And I've lost gratitude for where I was at in the process and for the progress that had been made. So I understand that attitude.
So you just said something.
Yeah,
I've lost gratitude for the progress that I have made. How does that happen? I can share with you how it has happened for me, but how in the past, how did that happen? You're sober. Something that you wasn't able to do, and now you're sober, and things are going well. How do I lose gratitude?
So without trying to be too deep and too philosophical, I just feel like at some point in time, I forget how powerless I was. I forget that I was under the weight of something that was making decisions for me, using my body almost as a vehicle to do its will. And I say it like it's a different part of me because in essence, it is.
It is.
I say things, I believe things that when I take a substance into my body, whatever that is, I'm not the same person. And so I forget about all of that struggle. I can't remember. And the book talks about that, not being able to recall with sufficient force.
That was in my brain.
Right. The suffering of even a week or whatever.
A month ago.
Right.
Suffering and humiliation of even a week or a month ago. We are without defense against the first drink.
Thump, thump. Thump, thump. Right. There it is, though. But you're right. So I don't remember. So I forget that. And then I actually don't give any credit to a higher power of any sort. Whether I believe that higher power is the group of drunks that have been in my life, that place in my life, in the place where I end up, right? all the things that have been done for me that I didn't have to work for, that I certainly didn't earn, and deserving is definitely questionable, but they're all a part of the experience. And then I start to expect it, and then I start to overlook it.
So I agree with all of that. Word that came to my mind is one we've already used: connected. I stopped my connection, not just in a friendly way, but my connection with others who need the help. Okay. This is my experience. I lose my gratitude quickly if I'm not around other alcoholics. So that's what I do today, right? I stay embedded, through sponsorship, through, things like this, through meeting attendance, through group facilitation, through going to pick guys up, because I got to go do a detox group later today. And the gentleman I do the detox group with invariably will say to that group of people at some point, y'all got to understand, I'm here for me. Now, I don't say it as callously as that he does, but
that's the truth of it.
And because I look at those faces and I don't want to be there again.
Right. That's very, very true. But I was going to say one challenge that I have to that is because there's a lot of things that can become toxic within the fellowship.
Okay.
So like in meeting attendance, and you said something about not being able to lose gratitude when you stay connected to other alcoholics. And I believe it's a very specific kind of alcoholic.
Okay.
It's the ones that are desperate for me, the ones that, are exhausted with themselves, and that you get the vibe from them that they're really looking for change and they're kind of lost. Because some of us, myself included, when I get to knowing something, I'm not too pleasant to be around after a few months in recovery. You know what I'm saying? Because like I got the answer for everything. I can cite page and verse. I'm super spiritual. You know what I'm saying? I volunteer. I clean dishes. At the kitchen. Where I went to treatment. So all I'm saying is like, being around people that are in need, in desperation, I believe, and know it.
Newly desperate, huh?
Yes. Yes. So, because a lot of people get turned off from fellowship stuff,
So, think of someone right now that that might be, I don't know, anywhere from 30 days to less than a year sober, right?
Okay.
And and some, again, I'm just having you in your own mind, and then
thinking of me.
Well, not it can't be you.
Oh, okay.
And they've been in and out, okay. And right now they're about anywhere from 30 to 9 months, okay. And they go back out, and they come back and they ask you to sponsor them. They're are they? What about connecting with them?
Well, I mean, yeah, because I feel like that fresh butt whooping makes them a little more pliable to work with.
Now they're 6 months in.
Ooh, might be time to pass them off like my sponsor.
So I had this issue with my sponsor.
I can only imagine. I've probably been a problem.
I had to
take this moment to apologize to all my former sponsors. It wasn't you. I'm sure you know that. Okay.
So I had this one. I'm telling my sponsor, I'm like, I got this sponsee over a year sober, and the dude, he think he know everything now.
Oh, I know him.
Right? and he, and I'm like, man, what do I do? I'm like, what my sponsor told me? Nothing. You continue to be there and put the truth in his face. And I just say that because I hear what you're talking about. I love, the newcomer, man. I love when somebody, this is my first time achievement. I'm like, yes, I love this.
Right.
But even somebody who's a recidivist,
and it's difficult too, right? Because I mean, I've been on both sides of that.
Right.
I've been the sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
I've been the sponsee.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard as a sponsor when you're working with somebody. You see them make such strides and such progress, and their life is changing,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden they hit that wall. They come to an impasse of something that they just refuse to let go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I'm working 6 out of 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take time for the home group no more, or I can't make as many meetings as before. I don't even need as many meetings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or the introduction of a new love interest.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And
why you saying all my history, man?
This is
my history.
This is mine as well. And that's the thing, right? It's like these are common storms that we all are almost certain to face.
Right.
You know, and what I discovered, you know, through the process of many failings,
mm-hmm.
is that whatever my concept of a higher power is, it needs to make enough sense to me that I'm willing to dedicate time and effort into developing that relationship. Mm-hmm. If it's so far away from what I can relate to conceptually, I'm not going to turn my life over to it.
Mm-hmm.
And therein lies the importance, I believe, of having good sponsorship. Because
mm-hmm.
I need a guy who's doing as he says,
mm-hmm.
and not just telling me to do it as he says, but not as he's doing.
Right.
You know that.
Right. I know that. I guess underneath or a thread in all of this conversation, which we haven't said explicitly, but is this concept of God. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because there was something you just said that had me thinking about it, and that was, man, I was raised a Christian in the church. I'm not one of those guys that would be like, oh, I was brought up with this punishing God. No, I knew from the beginning God loved me. I knew from the beginning God forgave me. You know, so that was, but I didn't have a relationship. That I didn't know, right? I just thought my sponsor helped me to realize there's a difference. Now, again, grew up in the church now. Mm-hmm. But it took somebody in this process to help me to realize there's a difference between knowing and having a relationship.
Okay.
And it was only through this process. I woke up this morning, again, 7 years and 2 months sober, 3 months, because, you know what I'm saying. And I literally, I'm kind of tearing up about it right now. I literally did the same thing today that I did 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Which was?
Pray. Thank God for another day sober. Mm-hmm. You know, my prayers have a little bit more depth and weight to them than they did back then. Back then it was all, God, keep me sober.
Right.
That, you know, that. But my sponsor helped me to, you know, recognize, amen, this is how we're going to build that relationship. What does going to a meeting every day, how is that going to make me build a relationship? Just do it. What does going to a sober house when I don't want to and stay longer than I want to, or not going back to work when I want to, what does any of that got to do with me? Just do it. Mm-hmm. You know,
I think what you're talking about now is you know, this is how we develop that attitude you're talking about.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a lot. There were many suggestions that I received, mm-hmm. you know, early on, especially this time I was paying attention, mm-hmm. That didn't make sense.
Okay.
It didn't make sense at all in the moment. Like, don't get in touch with your family.
Don't make sense.
You know what I mean? Of course they want to hear from me. You know, they've been not hearing from me for years.
Yeah.
He said, no, you let them know where you're at. As long as you stay there, that'll be enough. Trust me. I was shocked when they didn't call the treatment center several times a week
and want to talk to you.
Speak to me. Yeah. Yeah. When they say, you know, don't get in relationships. Mm-hmm. You know, these are some of the most difficult ones, and you know, it makes sense now after, of course, like banging my head so many different times. But you know, for a new person that may be watching, you know, there's a lot of development that needs to happen in those first days, weeks, months, years of recovery that I have no idea because I've never done it.
Exactly.
And what I've never grasped is that the mind that I have cultivated, this mind of an alcoholic, this mind of an addict that thrives off of more, that demands attachment, that needs a project to fix other than itself. That all of these characteristics and all of these qualities are what prevent me from having that relationship with a higher power, because I don't know this.
You say all these qualities that prevent me. You mean these character defects? Because because my mind is going booked on things that have separated me from the sunlight of the spirit. Obstacles,
these are my personal obstacles, and I would dare say these are our personal obstacles, or whatever those things were that I assigned value to, which another word for that is worship. The things that I worship, the things that I made so important to me, are the very things that I need to find the discipline, the willingness, the strength, the courage, and have the support to stay away from. Until I have that deep connection internally.
My license plate is Ephesians 3:20. Now unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above anything that you can even ask or think. God has done for me greater than I even thought I wanted. All I wanted to was to be sober. Right? That's because I couldn't. I used against my will. That's been removed. That's all I wanted. And now he gives me even more, exceedingly abundantly above anything that I could even ask for or think of. But I need to put a warning here. With my recovery and sobriety comes a responsibility.
So we're going to be wrapping things up here. What does the future look like? Just kind of like in a guesstimation for those people who say, I don't want to be in church basements. I don't want to have to go to meetings for the rest of my life. And the question I'm asking is, do you think that it's possible for someone who has built a life around recovery to still maintain that, evolve in this process without meeting attendance?
I'm going to say yes. I don't see my life being that without meeting attendance. I say yes because the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book says we don't have a monopoly on recovery. Sure. Okay. So that means that people can get and stay sober in a myriad of ways, particularly if they've had that psychic change. And so I'm just finished by saying that it ain't boring. This is by far and I say by far the most active time I've had in my life. I don't want to give the impression that recovery is all about gaining stuff,
right?
But it ain't about being in church basements. Sure. It's about, hey, I wanted to jump out of a plane. I was able to do that. Hey, I want to act in movies. I was able to do that. Hey, I want to travel to another country. I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And there's, I think there's so many things that I've been skiing. The book says that this is an experience you must not miss. Now, I was talking about it in a different context, so I don't want people to know it ain't talking about stuff.
Yeah.
But this recovery is an experience you must not miss. But if there is one thing that I would want anybody to know, it's this. I think God is, like I said earlier, has made my journey one that is difficult. No, it's not difficult. It's impossible for me to look at somebody and judge them for not, grabbing hold of sobriety and staying for a long time, right? So I pray that if you're one of those people, that you just keep coming back, like they tell us to keep coming back. Mm-hmm. The only thing is this: I don't know if the next one is the one that can kill me, and I don't want to be morbid. Okay, but one of the realizations that I have had is that my disease is a life or death disease.
That's very well said. And I think it's all the time we have. Thank you. You've been a great
man.
guest.
Thank you for having
Awesome
me, man.
conversation.
Debut, yes.
And thank all of you for joining us. We'll have another segment coming out here in a couple weeks. What basically we're saying to you is that recovery is possible as long as you find a hand to hold and walk through the storm. I'm Jay Rizzy, Jay Red. And until next time, you guys have a wonderful and blessed day.
One day at a time.